Hey guys, there's always a lighthouse, always a man, always a city, but you can call me Church. Welcome to Church on Monday, the podcast where I talk at you about shit I like. Today I want to talk about some media that I have been consuming in the past week. I did have a fantastic experience with the movie I watched this week, but I'm gonna save that until the end because I want to start with the media I have consumed the least of so far, starting out with the books I've been reading. So, the first book I started reading is called Beartown. This novel by Frederick Backman is about a small town community in rural Canada that's centered around hockey. That has been kind of drying up recently because their hockey team hasn't been any good. And it begins focusing on this one kid who's kind of growing up to be the next big name in their junior hockey team. And the truth of the matter is, I'm into the fourth chapter, and it just hasn't hooked me yet. It's supposedly leading up to a violent act that will leave a young girl traumatized and a town in turmoil, which sounds very ominous, and I am just not engaging with the writing style enough to be compelled through the kind of lackadaisical starting chapters. So I may put this book down for a while. I may finish it later, but I'm really not interested at this moment. But who knows? If you guys have some encouraging thoughts about this novel, please share them in the comments down below or email me at churchonmondaypod@gmail.com, and I may move forward and do a review of this if anyone is interested in hearing my thoughts when I finish it. Now, the next book I'm reading is kind of an entirely different case. The Pillars of the Earth by Ken Follett is one that I didn't think I would be very interested in. I'm not very big into historical fiction, especially around like Dark Age Europe, War of the Roses era. I prefer the fantasy version of all these stories. But Follett's writing style is so engaging that it's just been stringing me along. And I'm really enjoying each new chapter, each little section within. It's surprisingly compelling, and I'm really happy with the style and the story. And I think this is one I'm gonna finish and do a full review on when I get to it. I like all the characters, all the threads of story are well set up and well executed on, so I think I'm gonna go the full, tight, and even 1,000 pages with this little puppy. Now, the next section is kind of transitional from that initial one because the audiobook that I've been listening to is one that is conjoined with the first game I've been playing this week. So I started playing Dragon Age Inquisition again. I bought it when it first released, and I played like 30 hours of it. Didn't get too terribly far in the storyline, and just fucking bounced off of the quest design eventually. But this week, the season pass was on sale, so I went ahead and bought that. I think it was like 12 fucking bucks for 4 expansions or some shit like that. But I picked it back up, and I found the quest design still lacking because Dragon Age Origins is one of my favorite fantasy RPGs of all time. I have fond memories with it, even though the first couple copies I bought from fucking GameStop were scratched, they did replace both of those discs for free though, so it wasn't a huge black stain on my memory. But I spent tons of hours in the original, and I found the world engaging and the storylines very well written, especially in comparison to what I had been playing at the time. So it really hit my love for well crafted role playing games and well crafted fantasy. But Inquisition is totally different in terms of the quest design and the storylines. It does have the same region based exploration system, but the environments are massive compared to the first one and the second one. And the quests are mostly kind of tedious MMO style quests, where it's fetch so many blah 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 and bring it back to whoever, or kill this many whatever. And so I really bounced off of it and it didn't grip me. But I did find this time around that it was a good way to play something kind of mindless while reading to the audiobook version of Gone Girl. And I think the author, Gillian Flynn, is one of the two narrators of the audiobook version that I'm listening to, and I really like it. I like the performances. So far, I really like the story. I haven't seen the movie yet, so I will probably watch that after I finish the audiobook. But so far, I really like it. And that brings me to the other game that I've been playing consistently this week. That's Kingdoms of Amalur Reckoning. The leak of the remaster got me super excited, and I'm really glad that they moved the release date up to September since everyone fucking knows about it. And they just recently released a trailer showing that they're making a DLC for the remaster, like a new DLC that wasn't in the original game. And I'm just so fucking pumped for it, man. I started replaying it, and it's great. As always, the combat's fantastic. I like the world. It's very Tolkien-esque, very obviously inspired by Lord of the Rings lore. But it actually got me thinking about game difficulty, because I restarted it and I just put it on easy because I'm like, okay, I've played this before. I just want to fucking get through it and, get that experience. But I very early bumped the difficulty up to normal and then eventually to hard just as I started getting back into the swing of it. And, there are no achievements assigned to difficulty ratings. There's really no pressure from the community to get good, and it's just a pretty natural feeling difficulty slider where you just set it where you feel like the challenge will be fun for you. And, it's actually kind of similar with the Bethesda RPGs. Now, granted, they are much worse at actually implementing difficulty into their games, but the difficulty sliders are placed there very conveniently and without much pressure. And, I really like that style of difficulty in gaming. So now on to the less demanding media. I've started watching a couple TV shows this week. First was Skins, and this one's a bit odd for me because I've never really watched, teen drama television. I wasn't savvy to Degrassi, Dawson's Peak, or even fucking Zoe 101. So I'm not very familiar with the language of these shows and the usual style. But I do find the characters in this one interesting. It might be one that I end up finishing. It might be one I just kind of
watch for a little bit and then slowly drop off of. Fuck. But the other TV show that I started watching is The Midnight Gospel on Netflix, and I actually really enjoy it. It's basically listening to a 30-minute podcast with this absurd sci-fi fantasy scenario playing out around the characters, and I find it quite relaxing. You put it on when you go to bed, watch an episode, and then read your book, and it's one that I think I will watch the full season of and probably watch as long as they keep making it. Now, before I talk to you about the movie I watched this week, I do want to kind of lead into that with a discussion about my week. This week has actually been fucking miserable for me at work, which is absolutely unique. I haven't felt that way in my 5 years of working at this same place. And it, does have something to do with the recent depression that I've been in and just the miscommunication that happens when I'm trying to state my feelings, but I can't communicate those effectively, and my bosses don't totally understand where I am at emotionally, so it's just a compounding string of miscommunications that just totally fucked us all up. We got together this weekend and did have a talk about all of that, and we've resolved the issues, but really it did make my week just fucking miserable for me. And the worst day was Wednesday. And Wednesday, when I got home from lunch, I did check and I got Your Name in the mail. It's a movie that I just kind of ordered off of vague recommendations from friends and YouTubers and that kind of thing. And I was shocked with how well that fucking lined up. So Wednesday, I get home from work, worst day at work in fucking years, and I, break down. I'm on the fucking hallway on the way to the bathroom, just in a session of spasmodic, heaving sobbing, and after I was able to pick my face up from the growing pool of mucus and tears, I texted my boss, said I couldn't come in the next day, and then I put in the new movie that just came in the mail. I was like, fuck it, I need something to cheer me up right now, obviously. And goddamn, this is a great fucking movie. It's about two high school teenagers, one who lives in Tokyo and one who lives in a rural town, who one day discover that they just randomly switch bodies. And it's a love story, and fuck, I cried like 5 times during it. But it came at like the perfect time for me because, this was happy crying, satisfied with a story arc, and it was fucking perfect. It was one of the best experiences with media that I've had in a long time, from one of the worst days that I've had in a long time. And that kind of completes what I've been watching, playing, reading this week. If you're concerned about me, I do have an appointment with my old therapist, and that'll be the day after this episode actually releases. So it'll be tomorrow on Tuesday if you're listening to this in real time. And I'll, probably let you know how that goes, but I think that's all I've got for you this week. If you want to discuss any of the things that I talked about in this episode, go ahead and comment, or if you want to contact me, you can do so at my email at churchonmondaypod@gmail.com. Otherwise, I hope you have a fantastic week. I will see you next Monday. Love you. Bye.
No tears, don't fuck with more yet. Take what you can get. You're not my girlfriend.